Chaos Theory.
And the commercial. And people are like, oh yeah, how come we're not drawing people to the conservative movement? Well, would you like a list?
Stop having political heroes. It's gross.
I'm going to bring all of the snark.
I am so sick of the shouldas. Really? Who you telling? Shut up.
And I went, oh, hell no. You have got to be kidding me. I see your super double Jesus and I raise you. Jesus and the Holy Spirit.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chaos Theory. I am your host, Brass. I am joined by Fishy. We want to welcome you to the big premiere show of Chaos Theory. Felicia, you there?
I am. How exciting. Hey, everybody. It has been so long since we've been together on air doing things, and here we are. It's hilarious. But we probably want to tell people, why we're even doing all this.
And I'm so glad that you said that, because I've been waiting a month and then I had to wait a week longer to find out why we're here, because I was promised cookies. And the last time that you and I embarked on an adventure together and cookies were involved, I walked home from Atlanta. So I'd like to know, what are we doing here? And where are my cookies?
You get no cookies until you have completed successfully one show. Yeah, nice.
It's always something.
And if you're lucky, they're not going to be store-bought.
Yeah,
just
if
say
I'm lucky.
No, we've been talking and I guess trying to take our different activism perspectives that we have and wanting to help people become more involved and think about issues. And we've taken that and kicked it around for years. I mean, I think that you and I met in 2011.
Yes.
And it's been that long. We've been looking for ways to help people be a part of the process and feel more like they own a part of the process.
We've been, I remember we met at Culberson's town hall, and you were going pretty strong on that, and I just went to the side and said, hey, I just wanted to say that you're doing a good job, and then the next thing I know, here I am doing a show with you a few years later, and I'm like, wait, what? I was just saying thanks.
Yeah.
So,
that happens in my orbit. People get sucked in. It just is a thing.
Had I known, I might have been a little more cautious about saying thank you. I might have thought twice about it, but
you would have run.
Probably. So, but here we are, and your activism is different than mine, but each has its own uses. So, it's a show not just about politics. For those of you who are thinking, oh, it's an activism show, it's all about politics. No, it's a show about the culture. Oh, and by the way, politics too. So, and
it's a good thing you said it that way too, because I will say that I am liable to be one of the people who's about politics 24/7, and this show helps me focus. Prepping for this show has helped me focus on so many other things and pull away somewhat from the obsessive political thing. So we don't want to be like that. And we don't want to be just a talk and opinion show. We want to give people something that they'll go home with that they didn't have when they got here. I guess our slogan has always been, since we started working on this project, leave the place better than you found it. And
exactly.
That's what we hope to do here.
And the other thing too is that, and I bring this up specifically, is Breitbart had said that culture is downstream from politics, and if I want to really affect the politics, I want to affect culture. So, considering this is the 4-year anniversary of his death, I thought it appropriate to bring that up. So,
Right. Well, let's kind of give people an idea of what's going to happen in this segment every week of the show. We are doing what we were calling A Block. This is our beginning segment. And what we'll do here is get the big stuff out of the way so that we're not spending the whole show talking about news and updates. We'll give it to you quick and then we'll move on. And then after that, we have some segments that we are going to do pretty regularly, one of which we'll have today called News That Makes You Drink.
Oh.
And Everybody will be submitting ideas for news that makes you drink really soon, I promise. And also in this block, we'll be premiering this week the fecal roster. And by
Yes.
the way, by the end of the year, everybody should be using that term, fecal roster. So we'll be having, who's the worst person this week that we can think of that we just are having difficulty processing and understanding?
Harry Reid.
That. I mean, okay, but
Yes.
we're going to get to it when we get to it. Not quite yet. Promise. It'll be coming up. I swear. But so we'll have these different segments. We'll have things that we would like to just get through in this first block and then move on to. If you don't have anything else to add, we'll jump into those quick hits if you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's, because time marches on. And I really shouldn't say it that way, considering that one of the quick hits is Scalia passing. Which the only real comment I have on that is that the entirety of what happened around him in terms of the scandal, just run an autopsy on the man, and we wouldn't have any of this. That's
People,
really all I want to say.
it, everything has been daggers in my head thinking about this. I try not to think about all the implications. I'm really like digging the bunker under the bed by now when I think about his passing and what it means to the court. But yes, of course, we had to have the conspiracy theories, none of which we are going to deal with. But that was a depressing thing. I didn't think that we could do the show today without mentioning that because it has been on our hearts so heavily.
Yeah. And I think with regards to that too is it brings us to the next one, which is the 7th anniversary of the Tea Party, and we look at it for what it is now because our eyes were open 7 years ago, and you actually, if I can say this on air, founded the Houston Tea Party, if I recall, correct?
I did. I had a couple of people helping me. My oldest daughter, who was 19 at the time, and my good friend Josh Parker, who has been just a huge support and prop for Tea Party in Houston, not just me, but other groups around. Just 500 people in the middle of downtown on a Friday, and we were off. And since that day, it's been 7 years of work and labor and training and trying to help people have their voices heard and get responsible government. So, yay, happy anniversary, Tea Party. Too bad you turned out the way you did. But that's just not to say that the movement is dead. It has gone and embedded itself into the political process, which is fabulous.
So, do you want to move on to news that makes you drink?
I did, except that first, I think that we wanted to pay a little homage to Andrew Breitbart. There's some formative things. He came to an event that our Tea Party sponsored. You were a huge part of getting that event together, and it wouldn't be right to mark the day that the 4th anniversary of his passing, and the week of the 7th anniversary of the Tea Party, without talking about a couple of the formative things that he did that affected us all. So I know that you've got some audio. Are you ready for that?
Yes.
Great.
Everybody put your cameras up in the air. Everybody put your cameras up in the air. Put your cell phones up in the air. Everyone put your cell phones and your Blackberries up in the air. We have a sea of new media here to capture the lies.
Yeah, that's him basically saying, you're the media now. So,
And here we are, being it. There you go.
exactly. So I didn't have my camera in the air, but that's all right. I got my microphone. So did you want to talk about, since we're moving into the news that makes you drink, and his next statement kind of plays into that?
Yes. So when we're talking about news that makes you drink each week, we are going to really try to hit the things that have made us crazy over the week. And this week, and it will probably come up again, but I'm just going to say it right now this week, of course, the all-Trump edition of News That Makes You Drink. Super Tuesday is tomorrow. In fact, I'm taking time out from getting ready for the election to do the show right now. We had a a huge Trump week. And in Houston, since we're both from that area, the debate last week kicked all this off. You had Trump getting tag teamed by Rubio and Cruz in the middle of the debates, and then all the things that he's got there. So he's on our minds. But actually, we have some interesting audio from an interview with Jake Tapper talking to Trump about an endorsement from David Duke. You ready?
Condemn David Duke and say that you don't want his vote or that of other white supremacists in this election?
Well, just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay? I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know, did he endorse me or what's going on? Because, you know, I know nothing about David Duke. I know nothing about white supremacists. And so you're asking me a question that I'm supposed to be talking about people that I know nothing about.
But I guess the question from the Anti-Defamation League is, even if you don't know about their endorsement, there are these groups and individuals endorsing you. Would you just say unequivocally you condemn them and you don't want their support?
Well, I have to look at the group. I mean, I don't know what group you're talking about. You wouldn't want me to condemn a group that I know nothing about. I'd have to look. If you would send me a list of the groups, I will do research on them, and certainly I would disavow if I thought there was something wrong. But you may have groups in there that are totally fine, and it would be very unfair. So give me a list of the groups, and I'll let you know.
Okay. I mean, I'm just talking about David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan here, but...
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know David Duke. I don't believe I've ever met him. I'm pretty sure I didn't meet him, and I just don't know anything about him.
All right.
Are you going to tell me he really doesn't know anything about David Duke? Seriously? Okay, so yes, news that make you drink. What was your drink of choice?
I'm going to go with the heaviest stuff I can, whiskey.
There you go. I'm voting whiskey too. We have Donald Trump 0, whiskey 2 right now. That's the score for everyone keeping score at home. He tried to walk this back. We were going to play some audio for you on that, but it's just really not even worth it. He tried to walk it back, and it was shortly after Ted Cruz had called him out on it. But it came out sort of like, so there. You happy now? Whatever.
You mean
this
like this?
Mr. Trump, how do you feel about the recent endorsement from David Duke?
I didn't even know he endorsed me. David Duke endorsed me? Okay. All right. I disavow. Okay?
Yeah, that's, he disavows.
I disavow. I disavow like it's a magic charm. Like it's just a spell and it can make it go away. Yeah. Well, it probably won't hurt him with the audience he's trying to get to, but hey. Anyway, that leads us into a couple of the WTF-ery that goes on. Trump also was talking about, if you want to hear his authoritarian views, how China didn't go far enough on Tiananmen and how the Soviet Union was weak before its falling, and he didn't respect that. Yeah, whatever. So that brings us to the next segment, the fecal roster.
So, Fishy, I'm looking at the show prep list.
Who do you think is on the top of the fecal roster?
Thing.
Oh, that's... Well, you know I'm always getting frustrated by politicians and other awful people, but I didn't want to use that other phrase.
Oh, you mean list.
Brass, why did you say on the promo?
Why not? It's not like the FCC listens.
Well, my mom listens to this show.
You're an adult. She's heard you say before.
Oh, Brass, for sake.
What? What did I say? So who would have got on the shit list this week, huh?
Oh, you went there.
I'm sorry. I couldn't bleep myself. I tried. Who's our fecal roster candidate? Wait. Harry Reid!
It is not Harry Reid.
Dang it.
Harry Reid does not win this week. This week, it is the media with all of the, I'm going to say it this way, the Trump humping. So what we've got is Fox Business keeping Donald Trump on for an hour on a day after a really bad debate where he gets to try to rehabilitate himself. And then you have the media consistently this week complaining about Marco Rubio's attacks and the way that he's attacking Donald Trump in a more personal manner instead of sticking to the issues, when that is the entire campaign strategy of Donald Trump, is to insult and belittle people and make fun of them and be disgusting in some manner of it. I mean, you can go down the list of things he's done, but the top of the fecal roster this week is the complicit media who is handing everyone Trump on a silver platter, pushing him as hard as they can, and they're going to turn around and, if he becomes the nominee, make him the most hated and reviled man from most of the population of the country, and use that to tag conservatives and Republicans with. So that is our fecal roster winners this week.
Well, sounds good. We'll be back right after this break.
Chaos Theory.
Cranking it down your antenna and making your speakers throb. It's Chaos Theory with Brass and Fishy, debuting Monday, February 22nd at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
What is Chaos Theory? Anyone? Anyone?
Quick hits and headlines.
News that makes you drink.
Campaign updates.
Cupcakes and whiskey.
Texas supremacy.
This week in sports.
Sportsing.
Why it matters.
Leaving the place better than you found it. Brass, what is that sound I keep hearing?
What sound? I don't hear anything.
It sounds like ice in a glass.
It's nothing.
It's messing up the audio.
Fine. It's Johnny Walker Black.
Are you drinking on air again?
You would too if you read this story.
We are doing a show here, Brass.
I know, but really, this is just news that makes you drink. Hey, that's a good idea for a segment.
Oh, my stars.
Yes! News that makes you drink. Only on Chaos Theory. Monday at 9, 8 Central on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Are you tired of running for president all by yourself?
Need a little help?
Call us right now.
We'll do anything you want.
We can make your polls go straight up.
What are you waiting for?
ConservativeEscorts.com.
Chaos Theory.
Hello. Is it Conservative Escorts? Yes, I'd like my polls to go straight up.
Oh, gosh, I'm going to be sick.
Oh, we're
Stop
on the
that.
air? Oh, we're on the air? Sorry.
Stop it.
And we're back. Let's talk about campaign coverage.
Yes. Welcome back, everybody, to Chaos Theory. This is Fishy. That is Brass. We are going to talk about B Block now. This is going to be our campaign block so that we kind of contain the worst of the campaign coverage that you have to sit through to this one little block. We won't, we won't extend it throughout the whole show. We'll just keep it here. We'll do some quick stories. We'll do some horse race updates.
Consider this the quarantine section for all
Yes.
of your campaign coverage.
Now we said that, but then we just had Donald Trump and the news that makes you drink. So
Yeah, but
we're
that's
trying.
just news that makes you drink. That's pretty much everywhere you go. So this is all the real campaign stuff.
We'll also talk about, tweets of note. Maybe somebody has done, a politician has done a tweet that's very interesting, and media bias will be covered here too. Thank you, Fecal Roster. And, we also have some recommended reading at Free Radical Network, which is the group that we are a part of. We've built a resource list of good evergreen content that people can read and learn from that we think all conservatives should read. And so we'll feature sometimes something from there under our required reading, recommended reading segment. So we'll try to use praise as well as pressure to move politicians. And we'll also tell you who's been listening to Chaos Theory when we find other people saying things that we said here first.
Yeah, sort of, who's cribbing from our notes. And, that's okay. You can cheat off of our papers. You can.
In fact, encourage it.
That's true. We'll write in bigger letters so you can read it from afar. So who we got up first in the campaign?
Oh, well, let's talk about the Super Tuesday rundown. The states that are going to be up tomorrow.
Texas.
Yes.
Sorry, I get a little excited about that.
March 1st is Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Georgia, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Vermont, Virginia, and Colorado, which has a caucus, and Wyoming, which has a convention. And so that's everything happening tomorrow. And the state with the biggest numbers on that list by far, Texas.
That's because Colorado is going to be ordering. By the way, I'm just curious: is Colorado's caucus sponsored by Doritos? I just curious.
I'm looking at the notes. 37 electoral or delegate votes. Nope, I don't see anything about Doritos. Sorry.
Okay. Texas is the big one. Of course, we're number one. Any thoughts on that? I know you're working it tomorrow.
Yes, I am.
I will be voting tomorrow, so.
Good for you. Good for you.
Gonna pull a lever. Cha-ching.
I have a 14-hour day plus ahead of me, so everyone pray. No, we'll see that Cruz is probably going to do very well. Trump is trying to spin that he's going to do very strongly, but he's got it covered whether he does well or poorly. We'll see what happens. There are so many delegates up to for grabs here. It's something in nature of over 300. No, over 500, I believe. I can't remember the exact number, but there are that many states doing that much tomorrow. It will be all over the news. Sadly, I won't get to hear much of the news because I'll still be doing the election. But the delegate count right now, as it stands, from what I can understand, let me see, where did I put that? Oh, look, I don't have it, but I will tell you that I believe that Trump is in the lead with, is it 69?
I believe so.
Somewhere in that neighborhood. And you have Rubio and Cruz, one delegate, with a one delegate spread between the two of them. We'll get to more of those specifics as we go along in the week. Next week, when we come back, we will be able to have a whole different picture in front of us. And I'm glad of that. But my main focus for this segment that I really wanted to think about is, does anyone know why Kasich and Carson are still in the race?
Money, because I've gotten no reason why Kasich is in. In fact, I can't figure out why Kasich is on TV. He doesn't even look good. It's the whole Fruit Ninja thing with the whole chopping, and I've just about had enough.
That was the best gif ever. Chopping those hands everywhere. But if the chat room has any theories, we would love to hear why the Carson and the Kasich are still hanging around, like stuff that won't go down the disposal in the sink that you got to shove down there with a utensil. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, you know what? I'll tell you what. Next week, we're going to play, we'd like to hear from you this week. Give us your reasons as to who, and we'll pick a winner. The best reason why Kasich and Carson are still in. And it can be anything. Bring the snark.
Yes. This is the audience participation portion. We have to have some input. Yes, so we will read the best answers on the show next week. That would be fantastic.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I really want to see what everybody has to say about that. Put up on the FRN Facebook page. You can send it as a Skype message, email, anything. We want to hear from you. Let us know. And I guess we'll, of course, check the chat, see what people say there, too. So.
And reactions to the primary, the Super Tuesday primary, too. Send those as well if you've got something good. Some conspiracy theory, maybe. Those are always fun. Love to explore the conspiracy theories behind why everybody's doing the things they're doing.
I'd also like to see your reactions to just send us photos of your reactions or videos of your reactions to Super Tuesday. If you're drinking heavily, we'd like to see the results of that.
Yes, and recommendations are always welcome for good recipes.
Yes. So, like how to make a good old-fashioned. And speaking of elections...
Did you know, though, I've actually had bartender training?
You may not want to tell our audience. We may end up changing the type of show that we do.
We could do a pub crawl.
We could. No.
I'm so
You guys are talking about politics. So, speaking of politics and the real nature of politics, do you want to get into that?
Absolutely. So this week in recommended reading, we have an article from Morton Blackwell from 2010, and it's The Essence of Politics is what he's called it. And it's one of my favorite pieces. I don't know if you've actually developed the affinity for it that I have, but it is a good reminder of what you need to know to prevail in politics. It's ready when you are.
Here we go.
This week's recommended reading is The Real Nature of Politics by Morton Blackwell, a 2010 article at Red State. So who's Morton Blackwell? Well, he's the founder of the Leadership Institute, but he actually began working in politics way back in 1964. He was one of the youngest Goldwater delegates, worked on the campaign, and he also worked on Reagan's 1980 campaign. In 1964, they were operating under the assumption that if you were right, if you were correct in your thinking and your policies, then it was sufficient to be able to win. Even the Goldwater campaign slogan of "in your heart, you know he's right" reflected this. But the disappointment was really hard for a lot of the members who had served on that campaign. And later, a few years later, former Goldwater supporters started to get together and talk about strategy and examine why they lost and what they could do better. And they came upon this idea of what is the real nature of politics, and they started exploring that. They came up with 4 points that you should consider. The first one we've already mentioned: being correct or being right is not enough to win. You can't just say that things are a certain way and have them prevail, have your ideas prevail. The second one is the winner in a political contest over time is determined by the number and the effectiveness of the activists and leaders on the respective sides. So as many of those as you have activists and how effective they are determines who wins. Number 3, the number and effectiveness of the activists and leaders is determined by the political technology used. And here, technology doesn't mean spreadsheets or applications. It's all of the techniques and things that you use in order to boost your communication and your organization skills. So the number and effectiveness of those activists and leaders that you have is determined by how many techniques and political abilities they have and that they utilize. And number 4, and I think this is the most important point, you owe it to your philosophy to study how to win. You have a moral obligation to learn how to win, especially if you are indeed right. It's not enough, again, to be right. You must learn how to prevail, how to win as well as be right. So you might be wondering what this has to do with anything. Well, the Leadership Institute itself has cranked out some names that you know, among them James O'Keefe and Matt Lewis of the Daily Caller. But that's not an ad for the Leadership Institute, as much as this is an exhortation to get training, to go out and find ways to get more knowledge and learn how to win. And you can look at organizations like American Enterprise Institute, Americans for Prosperity. The Red State Gathering this year is going to be in Colorado. There are plenty of organizations out there, and we'll find some and link to them. But you can go and get some training, learn how to do a new skill, get better at what you already know. Or if you can't do that, if you can't devote the time or resources to get training yourself, consider helping sponsor someone younger to go to trainings as well. You could sponsor someone to go to a conference or some training, or send them to Leadership Institute. But whatever you do, remember that you do owe it to your philosophy to study how to win.
Thank you, Fishy. It's nice to know that somebody's at least trying to put us in the right direction. Like, how to win.
Imagine. It is not enough to be outraged. It is not enough to be correct. There are a lot of things that we need to learn, and for a lot of us, the learning curve's steep. But that's what I'm about, is trying to train people and get them ready to do things to prevail.
Things. Well, speaking of things, it's time for another one of our breaks. We'll be back right after this one.
Chaos Theory.
Chaos theory moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and listen once in a while, you can miss it.
Hi, this is Amanda, host of VLR's Edge of Anarchy. Join me every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time to find out just why government sucked this week.
What insane!
Get your weekly dose of Radio Anarchy right here on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Hi, I'm Bernie Sandman, sleep socialist for President of the United States of America. I'm running for president because of the insane amount of sleep debt that students have in this country. It is astounding to me that in a first world country like the United States of America, college students have to deal with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 hours of sleep every day. They have important things to do like homework and Netflix and chill, and yet they cannot get the proper amount of sleep each night. This is a travesty. Meanwhile, there's a 1% in this country that controls 90% of the sleep. I'm talking about fat cats like babies, elderly people, and people who watch Hallmark Movie Channel. We need to redistribute these people's sleep and give it to the students who rightfully deserve it. My first act as President of the United States would be to enact mandatory nap time for all college students. I know that some of you will tell me that this is unsustainable, but I am the only candidate who has a plan for proper sleep redistribution. Do you know how many different kinds of sleep there are? REM sleep, light sleep, cat naps, siestas. Phooey! We don't need all those fancy different types of sleep. Instead, we need our college kids to be getting the decent night's sleep they deserve. I'm Bernie Sandman, and I approve this message.
Chaos Theory.
Brass.
What?
Brass, we're back.
Oh, crap. I'm going to have to pay up some of that sleep to somebody else.
I am so glad Bernie Sandman is running. I could use some sleep myself.
Yes, I have been running on sleep deprivation just for the sake of some poor college kid.
Yes.
Oh, my.
Welcome
That's
back,
okay.
everybody. We are back, and we are in C Block, and this time we're going to learn you something. Yeah. So part of that,
and she will.
Leave the place
She'll
better
learn
than
you
you found
something.
it. It's right here. I will learn you something. Just try me. So when we have guests, they're going to go in this block. When we have longer form interviews, they'll be here most likely. And we also outsource our show segments. So we are not about doing all the work ourselves. We do outsource our jobs here at Chaos Theory, and sometimes we even outsource them to foreign labor. We are proud
Hola! ¿Cómo está? Where would you like me to put this, young lady? Huh?
You see, so yeah, we are all about the global economy and all about outsourcing the best to get the best, the very best. It'll be huge when we get there. Yes. Huge. So,
Hello?
Yes.
I'm here for your technical support. Okay.
Yeah, no, that guy, no. Get out. So we'll also put some good news here when we have.
I will take my sushi and leave.
Oh, brother. We'll have good news in this segment as well when we have, some optimistic stories so that we're not always just so depressed at the first block and sometimes even the second block. We'll pick it back up here with good news so we can enjoy a little smile or some optimism, things that'll pick us up a little bit. We're also going to do some cultured conservatism. Now, cultured conservatism is where we're going to actually look at things in the culture, movies or television or
Lovely, dear.
books.
This is the latest review of our movie. It's sort of a cultured conservatism. Nothing for the rubes out there, but for those of you that are longing for the culture, Gilligan, my boy, here is going to help us with that. Yes. Mm-hmm.
See what I have to put up
Cultured conservatism. Yes.
Do you all see what I have to put up with? So not that kind of cultured conservatism, Brass. It's about looking at the culture and finding examples of conservatism that we can share with people so that they can learn how to talk about the cultural things that are in the culture that we're all seeing in mass culture and in pop culture.
Well, then tell me, what am I supposed to do with this ascot? I mean, I look ridiculous otherwise.
Yeah, ascots are bad. I'm going to kick your ascot if we're not done here soon. Longer form discussions will also go here, and we will talk a little bit about how, things that maybe people that we find interesting, guests that we think you should know about, or maybe some conservative content creators that are kind of underappreciated or underrecognized. We might try to stick some of that in here too, so that we can be better about messaging. Messaging is a passion of ours, and we want to be able to explore good messaging ideas. And this is going to be a good, fun block. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes, as am I. And apparently so is Thurston Howell III, but poor guy's going to be disappointed in the end. So, speaking of longer-term discussions, if you're going to actually start speaking with some of your neighbors, friends, for those of you that have friends, people that you may encounter and know, within your area. Fishy, I try to cover all the bases here. You've stumbled across a wonderful tool, a potential political organizing tool, and really it's not designed that way, but there you go again, trying to, capture the moment, if you will. Why don't you tell them about that?
Sure. So stumbling across, I've been resisting this for a long time, but stumbling across the emails that come in was an invitation to something called Nextdoor.com. And Nextdoor.com is where you can go and check out what's going on in your neighborhood. If there are missing pets, you can post them if you find them, or post your missing pet. If you have things for sale, you can put those up there as well. It's a great connection resource for, really, who meets their neighbors anymore? I'm just going to say it. That's not just me, right? Everybody sort of locks the door and hides and draws the shades, right?
It depends on the neighborhood that I'm in, but, some neighborhoods, you do lock the door and draw the shades, and,
Right. But this actually connects you online with people that are in your neighborhood that you can, get to know and, trade services with, or become more familiar, work together on projects in the neighborhood, identify issues that people might care about in the neighborhood, and share that as well. So I looked into it and I started it. And what I did is I went in and created just a elections group in my particular neighborhood. Once you sign in, it identifies you, it connects you with your own neighborhood, and with maybe 25 or 30 neighborhoods around you in an extended circle. And I went in and put in an elections group, and I started filling it with information, not in a partisan manner, but just information about when the election is tomorrow, where people can vote, links to look up where they're supposed to vote, those sort of things. So being able to give people resources and tools without pushing a political message on them. And what that does is allows me to go ahead and be the information source for them. Maybe not in a political way, but at least in elections and looking for information about those things. Once I start that, I can develop that relationship with people who will eventually come for help on issues or candidates and things like that, once I get that reputation. So it's an easy way to build a little bit of influence in your neighborhood.
Well, I've also gotten the neighborhood.com stuff in the mail, and I took a look at it, and, it was basically a way to meet your neighbors without actually walking next door and knocking on the door. In other words, you could go online to meet your neighbors and still have your door locked and the blinds closed. You've described all those things, and I keep asking myself, do you have any other hobbies? Because immediately you're like, ooh, I could reach them about politics. Just checking. Just checking. It's like, hey, meet your neighbors. Hey, I have a mailing list built in. I'm just asking. So, yeah.
Taylor's brought that up. And yes, there was a thing I did not too long ago, I think, that didn't have to do with politics. Maybe after the break, after the next break or something, I can remember what it is.
Yes. Well, anyway, I just thought I'd, encourage you that, there are other things out there to do with that. But anyway, hey, Hey, get to know your neighbors. By the way, can I tell you about our Lord and Savior, Cthulhu?
I knew you were going to go there. I knew you were going to do that. This is why you keep those people online and you don't go knock on the doors.
This is why I keep my blinds drawn. Anyway, I don't want to meet people.
Hang on, I'm just going to straight up admit it here. I do not answer my door when I'm home by myself.
See, yeah, that's why you go online so you can do it. I want to knock on your door, virtually speaking. Hello, Avon calling.
Right. So people, check that out. If you want to become more influential in your own neighborhood and influence elections and whatever, start that way. Become the information source, and then watch people will be driving by your house looking for what yard signs you put in the yard because they know you're the one who knows.
Also, you could use it for block parties. I'm just saying. So, and the advantage is a lot more people to talk to.
True.
Yeah. There's a guy I know that knows a little bit about this, and I think maybe we ought to bring him on the air. What do you think?
Ooh, I can't wait. We are outsourcing this week to South Dakota. We are outsourcing part of our program. Meanwhile, I think this is where I go make a drink.
I would like to point out, too, that South Dakota technically can be counted as a foreign country. And on that note, here's our good friend P-Dog.
Hello, this is Prairie Dog SD, and this is my Doggone Minute. With the end of the presidency, people start throwing around the word legacy. It is usually tied to their accomplishments. Sometimes it's about things they didn't actually accomplish. Franklin Delano Roosevelt didn't really end the Great Depression. Did Ronald Reagan really end the Cold War? So, what will President Obama's legacy be? His accomplishments are few, and they're not really accomplishments that you'd really want to leave for a legacy. Obamacare hasn't been a success. Did he end the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan? Both are turning into vacuums of power that even Hoover wouldn't sell. Did he rebuild the economy? Hardly. I guess he captured Osama bin Laden, but that was more of making a call, not actually pulling a trigger. I don't think he wants his legacy to be the Middle East or his relations with other great powers of the world. Maybe he wants to pin his star to climate change. Oh, that's right, he won a Nobel Peace Prize. For a man that claimed when he took office that he was going to be the great uniter of this country, there sure seems to have been a lot of division in the U.S. since he became president. That's why I believe that should be his legacy, the great divider. He has done nothing but drive wedges between people since January 20th, 2009. Are race relations any better? Were groups like the Tea Party, Christians, police officers, and many other groups not attacked by him and his administration? I could go on with this list for an hour, but I only have a minute or two. But then again, maybe that was the plan all along. Divide and conquer. Take care and good night.
Just wanted to say a big thanks to our good friend P-Dog from South Dakota, and you'll be hearing a lot more of him in the coming months. He'll be a regular on this segment, but it will not be the only regular in this segment. You're going to hear from Prue, our Canadian connection, if you will. I hear she's running for president, but that's another story. So, and a few others. Fishy, you want to...
They don't have a president.
Well, I understand that it's a long story, and one that I haven't queued up for our playing on this particular show. How the Canadians are running for our presidency. I mean, hey, they might as well. But anyway, we had a couple others. Who are the other people that we had queued up for this segment coming? I guess maybe they'll just have to tune in and find out.
Yeah, I don't think I want to spoil it. I like the idea of them never knowing who's going to hijack the show.
Well, there's also, I'm not going to tell you who's on this week. You got to tune in to find out.
Oh, yeah. Hey,
tune in next week.
This is so much fun. I can't believe it. We're actually doing this show, Brass.
Yes, we are. Would you have imagined it on that long drive where the cookies were hidden? God knows where.
We have to tell that story sometime on air. Not today, but we have to tell that story sometime.
Yes, we will. The short gist of it is, for those of you that are wondering, we took a very long road trip to Washington, D.C., and I'm not sure we made any changes there, but it was worth it. So, and on that note, I think we'll let you go for a couple of more minutes and refresh ourselves and bring you back for the last part of the show.
chaos, theory.
Hi, this is Crystal Schoenfeld. Join me and my co-host Alan Bordius Tuesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern for the Roundtable of Extreme Liberty. Every week we host different panelists from various backgrounds while we discuss politics, current events, and sometimes laugh until we cry. That's the Roundtable of Extreme Liberty right here on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
When is Chaos Theory on? Anyone? Chaos Theory is on Mondays at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Millions of Americans have a dangerous addiction.
Get off the phone, you big dope!
And yet too many of them aren't even aware of it.
It's not my job to get votes for people! Damn it! It's theirs!
I'm talking about outrage addiction. Outrage addiction is the leading cause of depression, anxiety, despair, blindness, hearing loss, and a loss of total perspective and common sense. But with Outragers Anonymous, you can break that cycle. You can start again. You can find the healing, and you can recover. Outragers Anonymous. It's time to start thinking again.
So who's the top of the fecal roster this week, Fishy?
I can't tell you yet.
Not even a hint?
Well, I can say that it's somebody in Congress.
Harry Reid! Nailed it!
No, not this week.
Well, it should be Harry Reid. He should always have a nomination.
Hey, there are a lot of other people out there who deserve recognition for their awfulness.
Fine, then we can put him down as an honorable mention.
Chaos, theory.
Oh, we have a lot of honorable mentions, but you know what? That was earlier segments. We're now on to the lighter side of the show. Things where we talk about 80s supremacy, Texas supremacy. This week in Sportstein, or as I should say sports. What do you say?
I say sportsing.
Yep,
so
sportsing.
Every time people talk
movie
about
reviews, cupcakes and whiskey, yes, and wrap it all up with a big fat why it matters. So I'm looking forward to this segment. I think this is probably going to be my favorite block of them all. So what do you think?
You know what made me think of this is when we were putting the show together and kind of building the structure, I was remembering the time that Taylor was unwise enough to let me host Saturday Night Cigar Lounge one time. And it was JD and Dustin and I, and we were doing Mad Libs on air. And what we did is we picked some political speeches and things from people and did, took out some random words and then put, a new figure of speech, a new part of speech in there and read the Mad Libs on the air. And one of them was so racist, it was just disgusting, but it was hilarious. I loved it. And it just got me thinking, I don't do enough of that. I don't have enough fun with the material. So we are going to dedicate a segment just to the lighter side, to having fun, to taking a break from the politics and the crazy and all that stuff, and just enjoy ourselves and talk about some other things that maybe don't have to be politically driven.
Well, and that's true. And for those of you that don't know, I mentioned cupcakes and whiskey. That's actually going to be my wife and I doing movie reviews. So we probably will have one soon with some of the movies coming out, and you'll be seeing a lot more of that segment or should I say those reviews in this segment in the coming months, especially with all the good movies coming out. So you're going to hear sort of a he said, she said version of what we think of the movies. So. And
I'm really interested in the movies, but I'm more interested in the cupcakes.
Oh, it's always about the food.
I've tasted your wife's cooking. I'm about the cupcakes.
Yeah, she is an incredible cook, an incredible baker, and I liked. You know what? Let me just be perfectly blunt. I have reaped the rewards of her good work. And you know what? I don't mind sharing some of that wealth too, because when she cooks, it isn't like for one or two people. So she's like, "Oh, what are we doing this weekend?" She's like, "Well, I was going to make some cupcakes for 30 people," and it's like there's frosting everywhere, and the dogs and I are like, "We'll clean up."
Right, kitchen explodes. Brass and dogs handle the mess.
Yeah, it's more like the cleanest floor on planet Earth because the dogs are making sure they've cleaned everything. So it's it's a little adventure for her.
I have to say, too, that when we get to things like sportsing, that's going to be great for me because if we get this far in the show and I'm really needing like a bathroom break or something, I can just hit that button, let you go with the sportsing, and then I can go, take a bath probably.
Yeah, well, the sports are important to a few people, and let's face it, sometimes sports is the culture, so it's important to talk about it. So. And especially when they're like, "Oh, we need to change the name of a sports team," and that's DC saying it. And I'm like, "Stop, just stop."
Yeah, how many H's were in that? Stop! You just did. That was great.
All of them. All the H's. So, speaking of H's, how about a little place that doesn't have any H's, but it has a whole lot of goodness? Buc-ee's.
Yes, this week in Texas Supremacy. Every week, we're going to tell you a little bit about why, if you don't live in Texas, you should be sad and miserable about that fact. And this week, we are kicking that off with Buc-ee's. Tell them what Buc-ee's is. Try.
It is the greatest truck stop in the world. It is so good that they actually will put up billboards like about 80 miles out and start telling you, you can hold it. You can make it 50 miles. They'll have little signs about, hey, don't forget to get this. My favorite of all the billboards, because they have so many of them, is, and this leads into what they're noted for, get a gift, leave a gift. They're noted for having the cleanest restrooms on planet Earth, and that is not a joke. You walk in there, it's like a brand new restroom that has never been used. It is amazing. If everybody's restrooms were like this, nobody would be afraid to go to a truck stop. If we had truck stops like this everywhere in America, people would do a whole lot more road tripping. I can tell you that right now.
Absolutely, and you could actually perform surgery in those restrooms, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, pretty close.
They're that clean.
Pretty close. I mean, they're cleaning them every half hour. They got a guy in there all the time. It is amazing. And you know what? It's for the average people. And they have more goodies than I can shake a stick at. It's phenomenal.
And there's one thing that you said that really, I have to say, it's not a real truck stop in terms of long-haul truckers don't get to go there. They don't have parking for them. It is the truck stop for the rest of us.
Yes, it is. Now, they do have stuff for the long-haul truckers because it is a gas station as well as a truck stop. But this isn't like your little mini-mart. No. Buc-ee's is massive. And when I say they have food, they have literally their own line of jerky. And when I say their own line, I don't mean like 3 or 4 different bags. I mean, they have probably 40 varieties of jerky, and they have it behind the counter. You look in the window, and you pick what you want. And you don't say, I like that kind. You say, I want that piece that I'm staring at and pointing at. And they will pick it out for you. And then you want a drink? Oh, they have coolers galore. They have almost every single drink that you can think of in there. Oh, guess what? You're a guy who goes hunting and you need some stuff for hunting? Well, they got that in there too. Oh, you're a homemaker and you wanted some signs to put up in your home? Oh, they got that. You want a Buc-ee's t-shirt? They got that. They have something called Beaver Nuggets. And we got a good friend from Jersey who's had some. He knows. What can you say?
We just really want all the people who don't live in Texas to understand what they're missing. Now, if you're liberal and you're really, politically active, you might want to consider the fact that there's a whole bunch of people like us there. But everybody else, when you need the refuge, when you need the place to escape to, we're doing our best down here. And Buc-ee's is a big draw, and you should come and check that out. Absolutely.
Yes. And it's funny
come
because...
for the jerky, stay for the beaver nuggets.
And the funny thing about the company Buc-ee's is they literally built their entire company around one thing. We have the cleanest restrooms anywhere. That was their entire gimmick. They didn't have anything else special, and they've managed to just go nuts in Texas. And they're talking about moving into other states, so like Oklahoma and Louisiana. So it is simply amazing. And we'll have more about why, Texas is great. But that kind of leads us up into our next segment, which is why it matters. So for those of you that have heard some of my shows before, you know what this is all about. For those that haven't, hang on. You're in for quite a ride. Hope. It is one of the very few things that defines us as human. Hope is the thing that causes people to risk their lives climbing 15-foot-tall concrete walls topped with barbed wire and possibly being shot. Hope that they can escape hell. Hope for a better life. Hope for a brighter tomorrow. This nation has stood as a beacon of hope to the entire world. Give me your poor, your tired, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Hope drove millions to flee tyranny and find their way here to build a life free from oppression. We were that bright, shining city on a hill. In 2008, a man came to our nation offering both hope and change, and was elected on that promise. Was it a lie? Absolutely. But arguing against hope makes you an oppressor, and thus a brilliant campaign that couldn't be stopped was born. Throughout human history, hope has driven us forward, and that same history has taught us that those that stand against hope are those that oppress. The conservative movement has always been about building a better life and a better tomorrow where people can breathe free. Unfortunately, that movement has been dealt some serious setbacks in recent years. Worse, we have been cast as the oppressors by those in power precisely because of our strong oppression to tyranny. But far worse than being mislabeled by the left, over the past 6 years we've devolved into a bickering caricature that is a cross of what we once were and that distorted portrait the media used to characterize the movement. Chaos theory wants to change that. Rather than painting pictures colored with anger, revenge, or bitterness, we need to paint with the vivid colors of inspiration, encouragement, and motivation. For too long we've stood against things rather than for things. Yes, we need to stand against evil and tyranny. Yet it is equally important to stand for things and to give people a clear path to a brighter future. The time has come to inspire a new movement forward, to inspire those that want to build a better future, to once again give people, all people, hope.
Man,
that is
like,
why it
really
matters.
Like sad music behind that or something. I was like all tearing up and going, "Oh my gosh, I actually believe this." I felt like Sandra Bullock in the end of Miss Congeniality. I really do want world peace.
You know, the thing is if I were to play music, I would actually have to pick probably the end of Beethoven's Ninth. So it's the only thing that I think would actually work. So. I do. So,
Nice.
because I want to inspire people. I don't want people to walk away going, man, I hate everybody. I mean, if you want to do that, just jump in traffic, people. Trust me.
Save us all the trouble.
Yes. I won't have to do any work.
You're all heart, honey. You are all heart.
All heart, nothing but heart. Let me tell you. So, folks, we want to thank you for listening to the show. If you're just tuning in, you're just missing. Don't worry, you can catch it on a podcast. Foreign Matters is actually going to be following us, so you want to stay tuned for them. We are part of the Free Radical Network, so if you can't find us here, you can find myself or Fishy over at the Free Radical Network. Fishy, anybody else you want to pimp?
No, just I'm going to ask everybody a really weird thing. Please pray for me tomorrow because the election and the conventions and everything. And if you're in Texas and you want to know how to get involved, check out my page on Facebook, and I have all the answers.
She supposedly does have all the answers. So once
You'll
again,
find that out.
Thank you all for listening. We appreciate it. We hope that you'll tune in next week. Trust me, folks, it's going to get a lot crazier and a lot better. So, from all of us here at Chaos Theory to all of you out there, thank you.